Strike 3, you're cast out. Jim Penn's work was simple. Work outside and play baseball with any kids who came by. As simple as it sounds, there were times when it would be absolutely unbearable. You can bet that any adult who came to his work area, 3 children followed them. Jim had the esteemed job of pitching to each child, who would then switch out with another kid when they either hit the ball, which was rare, or when they struck out, which was often. Whenever a group of kids left with their adult, 2 more groups of kids would take their place. And Jim would have to pitch for every single one. It was a 6-hour job, starting from 10 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. So by 2:30, Jim was dead tired, and not in the mood for any bullshit. This, however, was not what the universe intended, as Jim was still throwing pitches to several Ritalin and sugar overdose children, who alternated between calming serenity and frothing madness. This, combined with Jim putting up with a verbal assault from the children's overbearing mothers on pitching properly, served to eradicate any patience Jim had. And then the next child stepped up to bat. Jim wasn't sure what he was seeing, but he knew you had to see it to believe it. It was a boy in a full body cast, his right hand free from the cast, holding desperately onto a bat, waddling his way up to the plate. When he got to the plate, the boy stood there, staring directly at Jim, waving the bat as best as he could, while shouting something that was muffled by the full body cast. "That's it, son. Make sure to send that ball flying." Jim looked to his right and saw who could only be the boy's father, shouting at the boy while holding a camera in front of him, frantically taking photos. Sir?" Jim approached the man, still trying to figure out if this was just a bad joke. "You do realize your son can't swing the bat, right?" "What do you mean he can't swing? He's doing that right now." Jim looked back to see the boy wiggle the bat, causing him to uncomfortably sway back and forth. "Sir, I don't think your son is able to swing a bat, much less stay on his own 2 feet. At this remark, the man looked at Jim, anger set in his eyes. "Are you saying my son can't play because he's crippled?" Sir?" "Are you saying that my son, who has his own American rights, can't partake in this favorite pastime of baseball?" The man started to advance on Jim, who, despite not wanting any of this, didn't back down. "Are you saying you give special privileges to some kids who aren't disabled, yet hold back the kids who are?" "Sir, if you could just please listen to me for a second." "No! My son has every right to be here, just like any kid." "I'm not arguing you on that fact, sir." "Exactly, because your paycheck depends on it." "Excuse me?" "If you don't want me to report to your boss that you've been handing out special privileges to certain children, you'll play ball with my son." Jim looked back to the boy, who at this point had fallen on his back without his father noticing, and despite failing, was trying to get himself back up. "Sir," Jim began, trying to summon an unseen source of patience that was continuing to elude him today. "I'm afraid that your son is incapable of playing baseball, due to the fact that he sustained a grievous injury that requires him to wear a full-body cast. Because this impedes his movement, and because doing so may cause more injury, I cannot, in good conscience, throw a rubber baseball to your son. I'm sorry, sir, but I cannot do this." The man's face turned beet red. He was so angry. He grabbed one of the baseballs on the ground and forcefully shoved Jim out of the way, putting himself where Jim was. "Well, if you won't do your goddamn job, then I will!" The man reared back and threw the ball. The ball then sailed to the boy and ricocheted off of his cast straight back to the father. Again, this was a sight that Jim would muse later on that needed to be seen. The ball then struck the father right between the eyes. He fell to the ground with a small groan. Sir? Sir, are you okay?" "Ugh." The man laid unconscious on the ground, while the boy was still trying to get up, while shouting inaudible cries, but, due to the cast, all Jim could make out was a slightly louder muffled sound. Jim's patience was long gone by now, and he decided he would do the same. He called for security, who then were told the whole story. After taking the father and wheeling his son away on a dolly cart, Jim decided that he earned a much-needed break. He gathered up all the bats and balls, placed them in an area that no one would find them, and put up the "Be Back Later" sign. Jim walked away to a break area, where he wondered if anyone would believe what he witnessed today. But knowing how humanity actually works, Jim sighed and resigned to keeping what happened to himself.